Imagine a place where people travel thousands of miles not to live, but to die, where families celebrate when their loved ones take their final breath, where death isn't the end of a story, but the beginning of liberation itself. Welcome to Varanasi, the oldest continuously inhabited city on Earth, where for over 3,000 years, death has been welcomed like an old friend. I'm Mr. Brain, and today we're looking deep into the most sacred city in India, where millions believe that dying here guarantees instant salvation. But this isn't just a story about death. It's about how an entire civilization has learned to embrace the one thing we all fear most, and what they've discovered might completely change how you think about life itself. Let me paint you a picture. The sun rises over the Ganges River, casting golden light across stone steps that have been worn smooth by millions of feet over thousands of years. This is Varanasi, also known as Benares or Kashi, and it's unlike anywhere else on Earth. Mark Twain once said that Varanasi is older than history, older than tradition, older even than legend. Archaeological evidence suggests people have lived here continuously for over 3,000 years, making it one of the world's oldest cities. But here's what makes it truly unique. While most ancient cities evolved around trade or conquest, Varanasi was built around death. The city stretches along the western bank of the sacred Ganges River for about 6 kilometers. There are 88 ghats, these stepped stone embankments leading down to the water, each with its own story, its own purpose. Some are for bathing, some for worship, and some are specifically designed for the dead. Today, over 1.2 million people call Varanasi home, but they share their city with something extraordinary. An estimated 200 to 300 people die here every single day, not from disease or disaster, but by choice. They come here specifically to die, and their families consider it the greatest blessing possible. But to understand why, we need to dive into the spiritual beliefs that have shaped this incredible place for millennia. In Hinduism, life and death aren't opposites. They're part of an endless cycle called samsara. Imagine your soul as a traveler, moving from one lifetime to the next, carrying the weight of all your actions, your karma, like luggage that gets heavier with each journey. The ultimate goal isn't to live forever, but to break free from this cycle entirely, to achieve moksha, or liberation. It's like finally reaching your destination and never having to travel again. And according to ancient Hindu texts, dying in Varanasi is like having a first-class ticket to that final destination. The city is considered the earthly home of Lord Shiva, one of Hinduism's principal deities, who represents both destruction and transformation. Legend says that Shiva himself founded this city, and anyone who dies within its sacred boundaries will have Shiva whisper the Taraka mantra, a sacred prayer, into their ear at the moment of death, instantly liberating their soul. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This sounds like wishful thinking or superstition, but here's the thing. Belief has power. When an entire culture embraces death as natural and even desirable, it fundamentally changes how people live, how they treat the dying, and how they process grief. In Varanasi, you'll see families who have sold everything they own to bring their dying relatives here. They don't see this as a burden. They see it as the most loving gift they can give. Imagine growing up in a culture where death isn't something to fight against, but something to prepare for with joy and anticipation. Every day, trains arrive at Varanasi Junction, carrying passengers on their final journey. These aren't tourists. These are pilgrims who have come here to die. Some are elderly, some are sick, but all share the same hope, that their final breath in this sacred city will free their soul forever. Meet the Mukti Bhavan, literally meaning salvation house. This is one of several guest houses in Varanasi specifically designed for people who want to die here. For about 20 rupees a day, that's less than 25 cents, terminally ill patients and elderly people can stay here while they wait for death. The manager tells me they have a 15-day limit. If someone doesn't die within 2 weeks, they're asked to leave, not out of cruelty, but because of overwhelming demand. The waiting list is always full. The rooms are simple: a bed, a small altar, basic facilities. But families transform these spaces with pictures of gods, flowers, and incense. They're not hospital rooms. They're transition spaces between life and whatever comes next. I spoke with Kamala Devi, an 89-year-old woman who traveled 800 kilometers from her village to die here. Her son told me, "We could have kept her comfortable at home, but this is what she wanted her whole life. How could we deny her this final wish?" Here are some numbers that might surprise you. Studies suggest that people who come to Varanasi to die often live longer than expected. Some researchers think it's because of the reduced stress and family support. Others believe it's the power of purpose and spiritual peace. When death finally comes in Varanasi, what happens next is unlike anywhere else in the world. The body is prepared for its final journey, not to a cemetery, but to the burning ghats, where it will be transformed by fire. This is Manikarnika Ghat, the primary cremation ground. Hindu tradition says this is where Shiva's earring fell when he was carrying his wife Parvati, making it one of the most sacred spots on earth. The fires here have been burning continuously for over 3,000 years. The cremation process follows ancient rituals. The body is wrapped in white cloth, saffron for holy men, and carried through the narrow streets on a bamboo stretcher, while mourners chant Ram Nam Satya Hai, God's name is truth. Only one community, the Doms, have the hereditary right to tend these fires. They're considered untouchable by traditional caste standards, yet they perform the most sacred service, helping souls transition to the next realm. It's one of the many paradoxes that make this city so fascinating. A cremation here costs between 3,000 to 15,000 rupees, about $35 to $180, depending on the type of wood used. Sandalwood is most expensive and considered most purifying. For many families, this represents months of savings, but they consider it the most important investment they'll ever make. With 200 cremations daily, you might wonder about environmental impact. Traditional wood burning does produce emissions, but recently electric crematoriums have been introduced as alternatives, though many families still prefer the traditional methods. Here's what's remarkable about Varanasi. While death is ever present, life thrives alongside it. Children play cricket in the same alleys where funeral processions pass. Vendors sell flowers for both prayers and funeral rites. Students attend one of India's oldest universities just kilometers from the burning Ghats. Banaras Hindu University, founded in 1916, has over 30,000 students studying everything from ancient Sanskrit to modern engineering. Imagine studying quantum physics in a city where time seems to move differently, where ancient wisdom and modern knowledge coexist. Varanasi is also famous for something completely unrelated to death: silk weaving. The city produces some of the finest silk saris in India, worn at weddings and celebrations. The irony is beautiful. In the city of death, skilled hands create garments for life's most joyous occasions. This is also the birthplace of classical Indian music legends like Ravi Shankar and Bismillah Khan. The Ghats come alive every evening with classical performances, where musicians play ragas that are said to guide souls on their journey. And let's talk about the food. Because yes, even in the city of death, people need to eat. Varanasi's street food is legendary. From kachori sabzi for breakfast to the famous Banarasi pan after dinner. Life here is lived fully, perhaps because its temporary nature is so visible. Psychologists who study this phenomenon call it terror management. When death is normalized and given meaning, people actually experience less death anxiety. Children growing up here show remarkably healthy attitudes toward mortality compared to children from other cultures. But Varanasi faces real challenges in the 21st century. The Ganges, once pristine, now carries pollution from upstream cities. The government has launched the Nami Gange project, spending billions to clean the river, because spiritual significance means nothing if the water itself becomes a health hazard. Prime Minister Modi, who represents Varanasi in Parliament, has invested heavily in infrastructure. New roads, better facilities, LED lighting on the Ghats, modernization that tries to preserve tradition while accommodating growth. Tourism brings both benefits and challenges. The city receives over 20 million visitors annually, providing livelihoods but also straining resources. How do you balance the needs of pilgrims seeking spiritual solace with tourists seeking Instagram photos? Modern healthcare has arrived too. The government has built new hospitals and improved sanitation. Ironically, in the city where people come to die, life expectancy is actually increasing due to better medical care. I spoke with young people born here, and their views are fascinating. While they respect traditions, many are also pursuing modern careers, studying abroad, connecting with global culture through the internet. They're negotiating between ancient wisdom and contemporary life. Global lessons. So what can the rest of the world learn from Varanasi? In Western cultures, death is often hidden away, in hospitals, funeral homes, separate from daily life. We spend billions trying to deny aging, fighting death, rather than accepting it. Studies show that cultures with more accepting attitudes toward death actually report higher life satisfaction. When death isn't the ultimate enemy, people focus more on meaning, relationships, and spiritual growth rather than just accumulating possessions or extending life at any cost. The hospice movement in the West has actually adopted some principles similar to Varanasi's approach, focusing on dignity, family presence, and spiritual comfort rather than aggressive medical intervention. Varanasi challenges us to think differently about what we fear most. What if death isn't failure, but transformation? What if accepting mortality actually frees us to live more authentically? These aren't just philosophical questions, they're practical ones that affect how we make decisions every day. As I stand here watching the sunrise over the Ganges, I'm struck by the paradox of this place. In the city where death is not feared, life seems more vivid, more precious, more meaningful. Maybe that's the real lesson of Varanasi, not that we should all come here to die, but that we should all live with the awareness that our time is limited and sacred. What do you think? Could Western culture benefit from a different relationship with mortality? Have you ever experienced a culture with different attitudes toward death? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this journey into one of the world's most fascinating cities intrigued you, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. We explore incredible cultures and traditions from around the globe every week. And remember, whether you believe in reincarnation or not, whether you're religious or secular, we all share the same human condition. How we face that reality might be one of the most important choices we make.